Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to go to the small village of Great Longstone in England, and this is just a little bit to the southwest of Sheffield and to the southeast of Manchester. The closest bigger town is Buxton, which is also home to a great brewery, but tonight we're going to do my first visit to the Thornbridge Brewery, and these guys are probably one of the best known English craft breweries, and this is my very first encounter with them, so it should be quite interesting. So the beer we're going to try tonight is the Oktober Doppelweizen, and it also goes by the name Otto as well, and I've checked it and it is definitely the same beer, so this must just be a special name that they give to the export version of this, because I bought this in the Systembolaget here in Lund in Sweden. They brought this beer in specially for Oktoberfest, so I'm not sure if it's just to do with marketing and things like that, but this is the Thornbridge Otto, so I'll probably name the video that rather than the Oktober Doppelweizen, because apparently it is the exact same beer. But anyway, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a bit about the company. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description for you below. The brewery website, my other Thornbridge reviews that I'll add, the Facebook profile and also the Untappd profile, so feel free to get in touch with me in whatever way you like. Always interesting to hear from you guys. So anyway, this brewery was actually founded in the grounds of Thornbridge Hall, and Thornbridge Hall is in the little village of Great Longstone, and it dates back from the 12th century when it was the home of the Longstone family until the late 18th century when it was then bought by John Morwood. But the house changed hands many times over the coming years, and it was extended to its current form in 1896 by George Marples. But the house was also a teacher training college for a period after the Second World War, at which time it was owned by Sheffield City Council. But the house is currently owned by Jim and Emma Harrison, who bought it in 2002, and in addition to the brewery they actually own a few pubs as well, and this is the Cricket Inn in Totley, the Coach and Horses next to Sheffield United Stadium, and the Inn in Tronwy, which are all part of the Thornbridge company. But Jim also owns the Packhorse pub in Little Longstone, which was apparently his local one, so he's apparently from Sheffield, so he has a bit of the kind of Yorkshire spirit about him, I guess. But Thornbridge Brewery were founded in 2005, and the original brewery was a small 10-barrel operations in the grounds of Thornbridge Hall in Great Longstone in Derbyshire. But this brewhouse was a converted joinery and stonemason's workshop, and initially they just wanted to produce a small range of cask beers for the local market, but the beers that they were producing were found to be extremely popular. So as of 2009, the larger part of the production goes on at the company's new headquarters in Bakewell. However, some of the beers are still brewed on the traditional infusion mash system at the old brewery, but the main brew kit in the new brewery at Bakewell was built by Velo, who are from Venice in Italy. And these guys, if you go and check out the brewery website, they've got an extensive range of beers. I was counting roughly about 25 or 30 beers in the bottle. There's a hell of a lot of them there, and whenever you go into any good beer shop in Britain, you will find a good few of the Thornbridge beers. And I saw them in Australia, I'm sure, and I've seen a few guys from America reviewing a few of these beers as well. So there's a whole host of things there. A few of the ones that struck me as being interesting was the Charlie Brown, the peanut butter ale. There was also the Bamberg smoked bock. There was also one as well called the Bayern, which was a Pils beer. I thought that would be interesting. And they also have an American amber and also an American red beer and a Vienna lager. There's a whole host of styles. So as I say, check out the brewery website and you will get an idea of all the different bottled beers you can get. And there are some that are cask only as well. So do check out the brewery website and you'll get an idea of the various beers that Thornbridge do. So anyway, let me just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. So all of the Thornbridge beers have this kind of similar style of artwork on them, just the label's a bit different obviously depending on what the beer is, and you can see on top this is actually a 10th, this bottle marks the 10th anniversary, 2005 to 2015, and this one says it's inspired by the Peak District as well. That part, the Yorkshire Dales, that part of northern England is very nice. I've not been down there in quite a few years, so I need to go and have a look at that at some stage. But there you can see the Thornbridge bottle cap on this one. So this one, as you might have guessed, is an 8% Doppelbock Hefeweizen, or Weizen Doppelbock as they're calling it, and it says on the back, Thornbridge is a collaboration of innovation, passion and knowledge. Our brewers come with a variety of experience, but all share the same desire to make great beers. Using the flavours of the land, their aim is to put the art back into science they were taught. Aromas are a great combination of banana, bubblegum and clove with a slight hint of licorice. full body and chewy with a warming, smooth finish. And it says this one contains wheat malt, Munich, Cara and chocolate malts, and also contains noble German hops. So I'm guessing it's Tettnanger and Hallertau and things like that. So should be a really quite nice beer for us to try. So without further ado, we'll get stuck into this guy. So this is the Otto, or the Oktoberfest Doppelweizen from Thornbridge Brewery in England. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening there. So yeah, should be a really nice one for us to try. I've wanted to try some of the Thornbridge beers for quite a long time, but when I've gone into the beer shops, I've noticed that these ones have become kind of quite common and easy to get. So obviously, I usually buy the ones that are a bit that you don't see so often and things. So I'm glad that I'm finally getting around to reviewing one of these Thornbridge beers, because they're supposedly very, very nice. A couple of the English guys, like Harry Meadows at Blue Nose Beer Reviews, he tells me the Thornbridge stuff is really nice, so very interesting to see. So as you can see, this beer has poured a nice kind of dark chestnutty rosewood colour. You can see it there if I just shine the light on it. There's a finger of a frothy, kind of beigey coloured head on this one, creamy beigey coloured head on this, definitely frothy, no real bumps to it. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see it's completely hazy, it's not transparent at all, but that might well just be down to how dark it is. If I move over here, you can see there's a bit of a kind of copper edge to it as it shines in the light. Not really sure if you can see that in the camera, but there is a definite copper edge to this beer. Some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head. So let's give it a smell before we get stuck into the tasting of this. So as you would expect from the Weizenbock style of beer, you've got those typical Hefeweizen aromas coming out of this one. So you've got a nice big wheaty bread note on this. White German bread, actually, it reminds me of. This one really, they're saying on the back that it smells like bubble gum, and then honestly this one really does, more so than a lot of the other Weizens that I've come across. I've always thought with the Weizen beers, I've read people saying, oh, this one smells like bubble gum, and I've gone and smelt some of these German beers, I'm like, it doesn't smell of bubble gum at all, it's bread and wheat. But this one really does smell of that kind of, those kind of bubblegum things that you used to get out of the machines, these big ball types of bubblegum. It really smells like that. But there's a nice big wheaty bready aroma, as I said, some nice wheat spice in there too. Good bit of banana. Like I say, the bubblegum on this one really is quite prominent actually. It reminds me of those balls that you used to get out of the machine and they would come down the spiral. Really reminds me of that, but a very nice kind of bubblegum note on this. It'll be interesting to try this one. But there's a sweet caramel note in there as well. Quite toasted, and you can also pick out a bit of a kind of dark fruit character from it as well. So there's some figs and raisins and plums, and I want to say that the fig is actually quite prominent, and the plummy notes are coming out quite a bit as well. So definitely quite an interesting beer. The thing that's really catching my eye with this one so far is that bubblegum note. As I said, I've tried a lot of Hefeweizens from Germany, and I always wonder why people say they smell of bubblegum, and this is really the first Weizen beer I've come across that really actually does smell like that, so should be a very interesting one for us to try. So anyway, this is the Oktoberfest Doppelweizen, or Otto as it's also called, from Thornbridge Brewing Company in Great Longstone in England. Slàinte. It's actually really, really quite nice, I have to say. Before you think too much of the flavours, about the flavours of this one, just let your whole palate adjust to it. Swirl it around your mouth a little bit and do a proper kind of proper tasting of this beer. At the start, I think it comes out kind of quite juicy. There's a good bit of that red fruit character comes out at the start, and then it just kind of gives way to the sort of bready and malty characteristics. It's quite interesting. It comes in really quite fruity and then just smooths out to that kind of typical Weizenbock flavour, the nice caramelly and bready wheat malt base there. It blends together very well, this beer, I have to say. So as you would expect from the Weizenbock style, it's a very malt forward beer. There's big bready flavours in there. a good bit of wheat character. There is a little bit of a banana flavour as well. If you go right down the middle of the tongue there, you'll get the caramel sweetness, and underneath that, your tongue is just blanketed by the big wheaty, bready, German white bready flavours in this, and it works really nice. On top of that, like I say, a little bit of caramel down the middle of the tongue, but as you move a little bit further out towards the edges of the palate, where you expect the hoppy flavours, that's where some of these banana flavours are just lying in there, and there is a wee bit of a clove spice character that just blends in with that, particularly noticeable with the banana flavours there. And it does come across as being quite toasted as well. But what's interesting about it is, even though it's 8%, it is quite a big and boozy beer. The alcohol warmth in this one is really quite well hidden. You just get a little bit of the warmth as it goes, as the beer passes down here. You just feel it warming you a little bit. But it is overall very well hidden actually. But around the edges of the palate with this beer, you're definitely getting the nice hoppy characteristics. So at the very back corners of the palate, you get that little typical kind of earthy note, and it's a very smooth earthy character, and that builds a good bridge between that big bready and slightly spicy malt base and the hoppy characters of this beer. So it's a nice smooth earthy hop character in the back corners of the palate, and as you move closer around to the front, you get that nice smooth grassy character that you associate with these nice German noble hops. Hallertau from Bavaria and Tettnang from Baden-Württemberg. Really nice hops from that region. But yeah, you'll notice as well with this beer, just behind the very front curve of your tongue, you get a nice little oily bubble, and that's where some of these kind of fruity flavours in this one are hiding. So you get a little bit of an oily character there, and you get some figgy, and I want to say it's more of a plummy note that's coming out of this one. It just has a little bit of sharp character about it. There's a definite fig element to it, but there is a kind of plummy or maybe raisiny character coming out of this, and it's really nice. The flavours in this beer blend together really well. So as I said, overall you've got that nice bready malt base in there, a little bit of caramel and slightly toasted caramel going down the middle of the tongue. As you move a bit further out, you've got some of the banana flavours and a little bit of a kind of clovey spice flavour on top of that. And interestingly, I'm not picking up much in the way of a bubblegum flavour out of this one, but it really does smell of that bubblegum note. And like I say, back corners of the palate, you've got that nice smooth German noble hop earthy character. You move a little bit further around the front and it's a more smooth, grassy element, and then the fruity characteristics, figs and raisins, come out just a little bit in that oily bubble behind the front of the tongue. Really nicely blended flavours in this beer. But in terms of the mouthfeel, I would say it's mid-body, definitely pushing the full-bodied characteristics or category, I should say. There's a smooth carbonation to it as well. It's quite oily, and it has a kind of chewy feel to it, if that makes sense. And that's simply just because it's a very malt-forward beer. There's a little bit of spice there, as I said, in the middle of the tongue. And as you move into the aftertaste, there is a little bit of dry character from the toasted elements of the malt base and a little bit of the hoppy character around the edge of the tongue. It does become just that, a little bit floral around the edges of the palate as you move into the aftertaste, and that's those noble hops again. There is a little bit of a floral and aromatic character to some of those Tettnanger and Hallertau hops there, and that comes out a little bit more in the aftertaste as you get more of a dry mouthfeel from it, and there is just a little bit of alcohol warmth from this beer too. But overall, this is a really quite nice beer, and I definitely wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. For me, it is more of a tasting beer just because it is that bit heavier. A lot of guys I know can actually session Weizen beers and Weizenbox and things like that, but for me, this is a beer that I would drink, I would drink one a night. Just to enjoy the flavour. It's a taster beer for me, this. It's a little treat, but a lot of guys would actually like to session this in Germany, which I can never understand because these beers are really heavy, but this is a very beautiful example of the style, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So overall, I would say go and check out this beer, also known as the Otto, and this one is the Oktober Doppelweizen from Thornbridge Brewing Company in Great Longstone, England. Definitely worth checking out. They've got a whole host of different beers that you can try. This one is very nice, so I definitely want to review some more of their beers in the future. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Always interesting to review beers from new breweries, so as always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys. There will be many more reviews to come from the Thornbridge Brewery, I'm sure. Really cool different variety of styles as well. But let me know your own thoughts on this beer. Until the next beer review, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Feel free to connect with me through Untappd and Facebook. Links are in the video description below. But until my next beer review, keep an eye out and slàinte for now.